Hi, I'm Glenn Simpson, and I've collected comics for over 40 years, and I'm showing off my collection one box at a time. Today, we're looking at box number 63. We will start with FF Volume 2, work our way through some final things and some fire things, and end up at Flare. So I hope you will enjoy it. Please like and comment and subscribe. I really appreciate it if you'd subscribe. And if there's anything in the little packs that you'd like to see that we're skipping over, please comment, and I'll be willing to do a little video just for that. So let's get going with box number 63. All right, here we go. So we start off with FF. This was the second series, and it was kind of a companion series to the Fantastic Four once it went back to being the Fantastic Four after Johnny Storm turned out to be alive again. Had art by All Red and kind of some cool stuff, groovy stuff going on in there. That's issue 1. And got this pack through issue 8. Right there, some Doctor Doom showing up there. And let's see, we got issue 9. Of course, the FF, which is the Future Foundation, was teaching and guiding all of these young genius kids and helping them out. And Dragon Man was helping out with that and things of that sort. So that's issue 9. And that series came to an end in issue 16, right there. Let's see. So next we have, now I mentioned this in an earlier video, I use the Overstreet system of alphabetizing, in this case with numbers. I set them up as if they were spelled out. So here next we have 52, because it's filed as if it was, FIFTO or FT, you know how to spell it. So anyway, we have 52, week 1, right here. Of course, this was the series that took place at DC following Infinite Crisis. The notion was that Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman took a year off, and a number of things happened. All of the DC series jumped forward a year, and so this is also meant to show what happened during that year and how we got to the point that the series were showing. And what we'll find, or what we found at the time, I don't know if it'll be obvious from here, but basically they got toward, it's a great series. It is a wonderful series. It's a great read. But they got towards the end and they realized, wait a minute, we haven't really accounted for all of the things that had happened in all of the various series as they jumped 1 year later. So then we had a mini series and some things like that to kind of better explain it all, get a little extra space and get some stuff done. So a little speed run. But anyway, 52 week 1 through issue 4, week 4. In the background, or they had backup stories, just short, I think 2 pages, maybe. I've been a while. That were the history of the DC universe, and some of these early ones, so very similar to the new history of the DC universe. 4-issue series that we're getting now. Week 5, Hawk Girl has been blown up to giant size. Right there. Week 10. This was, of course, coming out weekly. That's why it's called that. We have still got the history of the DC universe going on. We got week 11, which introduces Kane as Batwoman. Right there. And we have week 12, which introduces, I can't remember her name, but she is a play on the ISIS character from the old Filmation live-action TV series that was paired with Shazam. They don't color ISIS very much, we think, because of the ISIS terrorist organization. But she's an ongoing character here. Also, we start getting individual origins, or started getting individual origins for heroes, 2 pages in these issue as well. Let's see. We got week 13 right there. There was a Church of Superman that was created at some point. Origin of Elongated Man. Week 20, Animal Man, Adam Strange, and Starfire go off and are having an adventure in space. This will get referenced again later. I'm getting kind of a Jennifer Garner vibe, Jennifer Garner Elektra vibe off of that for some reason. Anyway, 20. And week 21, introducing the new version of Infinity Inc. The old version were the kids of the JSA. This new version is some questionably sourced metahumans there. 24. So the Justice League has disbanded, and in its place a new team is formed to be the Justice League. We didn't really see much of this team, but it was like nobody else is using the name, so we're going to become the Justice League. Week 25. Week 25 right there. This is, of course, including the Renee Montoya question. Week 32. There. I believe that the old question passes away at some point during this. Week 33. Batwoman meeting Nightwing there. Week 40. Steel kind of taking over Lex Luthor's building or something along those lines. There. Week 41. Continuing the various adventures there. Week 44. So you see ISIS there. Week 45. This image was floating around a lot during when The Rock was getting ready to make his Black Adam movie. Right there. 48. There. 49. Doc Magnus shooting bullets with the faces of his metal men. That's cool. And 52. The whole thing ends right there. Solving the mystery. I don't even remember what the mystery was, but the mystery is solved. Alright, then we have 52 Aftermath, The Four Horsemen. This came out afterwards and just kind of played up on now Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman are back. It kind of plays up on some of the storyline that was left behind from 52. That ends with issue 6 right there. And as I mentioned, there was a point where it seemed like they realized they hadn't really changed up everything they needed to change up. So World War 52, World War 3 came out. This came out around towards the end of the series, of the regular 52 series, and it's just a lot of characters. Black Adam goes on a rampage, and along the way lots of things happen, and those things just happen to be the thing that caused the change that we saw at the months earlier and the 1 year later stuff. So that's issue 1, and that runs through issue 3 right there. Alright, then we get to Fighting American. This was I want to say, or don't know who owned this character before, but like a 1950s. I don't think it was a 1940s character. I thought it was something got started after that, but a Captain America kind of ripoff, and the rights have floated around, and DC got them for a brief time and did this miniseries right here. Greg LaRocque, known for Legion of Superheroes, doing the art. This is issue 1 through issue 6 right there. So from Infinite Crisis, we get to Final Crisis, the Grant Morrison written epic, with lots of stuff going on. Each of these issues had each issue had 2 covers. One that was called the Sliver cover. So that's I kind of got some of each, but anyway, that's issue 1 through issue 6 right there, and then issue 7 is the first appearance of the Calvin Ellis Superman, the African-American Superman from Earth, I think 23, where he is President of the United States. That's what happens. That's why that's a big boy book. And, oh, here's one that I loved, Final Crisis, Legion of Three Worlds. So you've got kind of 3 different variations on the Legion teaming up. You've got the original sort of Keith Giffen, Greg LaRocque kind of Legion, and then the post-Zero Hour Legion, and then the Mark Waid, Barry Kitson Legion teaming up to deal with the menace that is Superboy Prime right there. So issue 1, and coming out of all this, so Superboy had died in Infinite Crisis, and he comes back. Superboy, as in Con-El, the clone of Superman, comes back in that series. We've got One Shot, Final Crisis, Rage of the Red Lanterns. This is the first appearance of Bleez and some of the other Red Lanterns that we would see over in DC Comics, and they started off in this one-shot Rage of the Red Lanterns. As with a lot of these crossovers, it seems like there are stories that somebody was probably going to tell anyway, and they just slap the crossover logo on it and tie it in as best they can. Final Crisis Requiem. Martian Manhunter dies temporarily in this series, and so he gets a one-shot, kind of reflecting on his what he was doing right before his death. Got Final Crisis Resist. Kind of a focus on Mr. Terrific here for all you fans of Mr. Terrific. Make sure you've got this one. Final Crisis Revelations, dealing with kind of the Spectre and that arena of heavenly being kind of stuff. Oop. It's through issue 5, right there. I think. Ooh, I can't remember what happens there. Is that the one? Is that where we go back to Corrigan? I don't know. Can't remember. And Final Crisis Rogues Revenge. The Rogues having a big fight with the Flash's Rogues. It's through issue 3. Right there, new trap. I think this is the first appearance of the new trap of the new Trickster. There. Maybe not. Look it up. Final Crisis Secret Files. There. And Final Crisis Submit. More of the story moving along. And Superman Beyond 3D. So it actually is done in 3D. You need the glasses to read it properly. That's issue 1, issue 2, and a big chunk of the storyline kind of gets resolved here. I seem to recall some complaints about that. Like, I read the entire main miniseries, and now you're telling me that it's actually resolved somewhere else. So coming out of Final Crisis, whether it really counted or was a part of the original series or not, I have a smattering of miniseries. Final Crisis Aftermath Dance. This is actually so we've got Joe Casey and Chris Cross doing art. We've got Artgerm doing covers, and that's issue 1. These are some Japanese DC superheroes, and that runs through issue 6, issue 6, right there. And we've got Final Crisis Escape. So I believe this was Nemesis from the old Brave and the Bold backup series, and I think he'd been seen in Wonder Woman since then. Final Crisis Aftermath Escape, issue 1 through 6, right there. Final Crisis Aftermath Inc. New version of the Tattooed Man, issue 1 through 6. There. Final Crisis Aftermath Run. So the I can't remember his name. The flaming torch or something. Human flame something. He's the one that killed, got lucky and killed Martian Manhunter, and now he's kind of on the run from that. Issue 1 through issue 6, right there. And we jump to a completely different event, Final Night. So the Sun Eater ate the sun, or is eating the sun, or is about to eat the sun, or something's blocking the sun, making it go away. And it's getting cold, and it's not a good thing. So Final Night, issue 1 through 4. Hal Jordan, who has become parallax, and the bad guy comes back and saves the day and reignites the sun, which actually happened. Technically, part of that happens in a one-shot that we'll see eventually. We've got Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville. This is a fairly recent miniseries. Fire and Ice are just trying to get away from it all, and Superman convinces them to go live in Smallville for a while, and hilarity ensues. I didn't care for it that much. I don't think I was the audience for this book, and so I did not pick up the sequel to it either. But that's issue 1 through issue 6 right there. So Firebrand was started off as a Quality Comics character, and back in the 40s, and then he just kind of faded out, and then they used his sister as a new Firebrand in the All-Star Squadron, and then I think this is the next one, just a totally unrelated character, and it was I think a fireman gets stuck in some armor or something like that. That's issue 1 through issue 9. He falls off a building and we never see him again. So there you go. Next we have Firestar. So issue 1. So Firestar, of course, introduced in the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends cartoon as a contemporary of Peter Parker and Iceman, and so then they decided to bring her into the regular Marvel universe, and she is, when we meet her, she's already a student at Emma Frost's academy, and they're she's one of the bad guys at this time, and so we are finding out kind of what the story in this miniseries. We're finding out what led her to joining there, and I think we see her leave as well. So that's issue 1 there. Then we have, not sure why this one is, people are paying more for this one. It's not a key necessarily, but issue 2, Mary Wilshire cover there. Maybe it's just because she's zapping Wolverine and that's cool. Issue 3, I would have expected this one. This is Arthur Adams pencils and Bill Sienkiewicz inks right there. And issue 4, Barry Windsor Smith art on that cover. And there were several female characters who got one-shots a few years ago, and she was one of them. This is the Firestar one-shot right there. We get to Firestorm. Here, not hard to remember why this is significant. This is the first appearance of Ronnie Raymond, Martin Stein, combining to become Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. Kind of an attempt by DC to have a Marvel-esque character, a young man who, has personal problems while trying to balance that with being a superhero, kind of a Peter Parker kind of thing. A notable fun bit about this is that instead of being a nerd who's bullied by a jock, he's a jock who is bullied by the school nerd. So, issue 1 there. Issue 2, we have your obligatory Superman appearance. This is, I think, the first appearance of Multiplex, by the way. We have issue 3. First appearance of the first Killer Frost, who was like Louise Lincoln or something. And I don't remember what happened to her. Later on, they brought in a new one, Caitlin Snow, who was, of course, adapted to the Flash TV show, CW TV show. There. We have issue 4. Firestorm versus the Hyena. Right there. And then issue 5. Right there. So then Firestorm gets canceled with the big DC implosion. He gets a backup in the Flash, which we will see probably in the next video, actually. And then eventually is brought back in a book called Fury of Firestorm. And then at issue 65, Fury of Firestorm changes back to just to Firestorm. And this was kind of a new combination of entities becoming Firestorm. It's no longer Ronnie Raymond and Martin Stein. It's issue 65 through issue 68. We got Captain Atom and this interesting Green Lantern who is dead and his ring is keeping him alive. Harbinger from the Crisis is still around. Part of the Millennium crossover, which was like the third, so Crisis, then Legends, then Millennium. There, got issue 69 there. This is being written by John Ostrander at this point, known for being the big Suicide Squad writer. Issue 72. Still fighting that critter. I don't think he's fighting that critter all the way through, but he just so happened to work out that way. Or maybe he is. I forgot how long he fights this critter with the jewel on his head. But by golly, he must fight it a lot. Some Soviet superheroes there. Issue 73. Issue 76, we've got Firehawk, whom we will have met in Fury of Firestorm, and fighting Brimstone, who was introduced in the Legends series right there. This Firestorm is kind of like a fire elemental, and so he doesn't really understand human ways, and he thinks so then he decides he's ought to be mating with Firehawk or whatever, and she says so it's issue 77, issue 80. I think by now we've got a little more Ronnie Stein back, Ronnie Raymond back, and we're into Invasion, which is the 4th big DC crossover, starting with Crisis. So, let's see, 80, Power Girl, for those who are big Power Girl fans. 81, Firestorm, encountering this guy. He's kind of like a big, super strong, super steel-skinned, I think he was Steelhawk, I believe was his name. Soviet. He had been kind of a Captain America takeoff, but with like really, superpowers and things. So issue 81. By 84, the kind of fire elemental is taking over, and Ronnie and his dad, I believe, are kind of on the run from, at least figuratively here, from that elemental being. 85 continues the adventures, if you will, of the elemental Firestorm as it tries to understand humanity. 85, 88. There, crashing, went off to space, crashing back to Earth. He was sort of the fire version of Swamp Thing, if you will. 89. Truly got on the bad side of Firehawk there, so she's gonna zap him. 92. So there's, as I mentioned, a bit of an elemental war going on there. Elemental war continues in 93. 96, we've got kind of, oh, I forget where he came from. He's kind of a dark Firestorm. Issue 96. Issue 97. I think we get some African magic tied in just to all this. I think this is actually part of War of the Gods, and it just didn't get labeled as such. That's 97. And issue 100, we have a rematch with Brimstone, and that is the final issue of that variation. Now, since it, at the point where it became Firestorm the Nuclear Man again, instead of Fury of, it was annual 5, and so this was kind of showing how the human merging version turned into this this newer version right there. The next time we see Firestorm, it's in here, the Jason Rusch version, that the African American version done by Crisscross. Dan Jolly. Issue 4. Dealing with, this may be Caitlin Snow. Dealing with a looks like a Killer Frost there. It's been a while since I read this one. Issue 5. Yeah, I think that's what I think that's the new Killer Frost. In issue 5. Issue 12. It's funny how new versions of heroes always end up fighting either new versions of or the same villains as their predecessor. So he winds up fighting Multiplex there in issue 12. Issue 13. There. Is it Matt Haley? Covers. Issue 16. Going up against, I think, the Atomic Skull, if I remember correctly. Issue 17. Got some Black Adam action. Getting into the Villains United. This is actually leading into Infinite Crisis there. So several of the villains get organized into and have a goal. 17, and by issue 20 we are all up into Infinite Crisis, teaming up with Animal Man in space. Remember, I said Animal Man went to space with Starfire and them earlier. That was, I think, a side effect of all this. Issue 21. So we're trying to kind of bring back the the Council of Firestorms. We're bringing back Raymond and all that good stuff. And Jason Rusch might be on the way out. No, he's not. He's still around. I think that this may be the point where we get Jason and Ronnie as the two that merge. Talk about Betty and Veronica. There's what combination of Stein, Rusch, and Raymond does one prefer in their Firestorm? Firestorm 29. There. Issue 35. Fighting some. That's Parademon Assault. That is not what parademons look like. Somebody forgot to tell the artist what parademons look like. And that was the end of that. Alright, so then we have first issue special, another spelled out word, number spelled out kind of situation. FIR and ST. And each issue of first issue special was sort of as if it were the first issue of a new series. So the numbering moves through, but it's like each one is the first issue. So we have this Atlas character being introduced in issue 1. Issue 3 did not introduce, of course, Metamorpho for the first time, but was trying to bring him back to the forefront and maybe have a spin-off of his for him again. Let's see. My horrible-looking copy of Lady Cop, issue number 4, first issue special. Lady Cop was a female police officer who was working her beat, and that's pretty much all that you got there. And then we've got issue 6, Jack Kirby's Dingbats of Danger Street. You'll later see the Dingbats of Danger Street go up against the Newsboy Legion, and so all the Kirby characters, teen, boy, New York, slum characters having at it. Let's see, we've got an attempt at a Creeper resurgence. This is actually, he's fighting the Firefly, who was kind of a Batman villain. And the weird thing about Firefly is he had light powers, but then, like, post-crisis or whatever, they turned him into the fire shooting character, even though they already had Firebug, who was already a fire shooter. Anyway, that's issue 7. The Creeper. We've got issue 8, which is a big boy book, as it features the first appearance of The Warlord by Mike Grell. There. Army pilot gets stuck goes through a portal and enters the center of the Earth, which is actually a world with a never-ending sun and has barbarian-style adventures. Issue 9 is a resurgence of Dr. Fate. There. We'll also have some backups in Flash that we'll see next box. And issue 13, which reintroduced the New Gods, and this would continue into Adventure Comics. And then Jack Kirby would come back and write another issue of his old New Gods series, which would completely and utterly ignore anything that was done here. So it's a bit of a continuity tangle there. But and then all of these, what was it called? I'll try to remember to drop it in here. There was a mini-series written by Tom King that had all of the characters, Dr. Fate, Creeper, all the characters from this series, kind of in one big story. So there you go. And we've got Fish Police, a kind of I've just got the first issue. This was a series, kind of trying to jump on the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles bandwagon there a bit, but it was a black and white kind of indie series that was Fish, drama, police dramas, underwater with fish. So. And this is the box with all of the stuff spelled out. Five, Ronin. Looks at how different Marvel superheroes might look if they were in ancient Japan or China and whatnot. So, issue 1, issue 3, there. So that was the Wolverine. That's the Punisher. And we got Psylocke there. And their version of Deadpool right there. And finally, we have Flare. Flare from Hero Graphics. Kind of this is a side project, or this is tied into the Champions role-playing game. I believe Flare was one of the sort of the characters that came with the game. If you didn't want to roll up your own character, you could use one of the pre-made characters. And so then, these are the characters they would use when they were in the graphics, when they were demonstrating, how things looked or whatever. And so they brought them over to comics, and I've got a couple of issues of this because they did a team up. You can't tell it here, but the Southern Knights is a indie book that I really liked, that they brought back in a crossover or three-way or whatever. So I've got these issues that have the Southern Knights in them. And that is all for that box. Okie doke. That was box 63. Next box, we are going to get into the Flash. It is going to be, we're going to go through that box like lightning. Anyway, it will be some Flash Volume 1 and some Flash Volume 2. So I hope that you will be here for that, all you Flash fans. And I am so glad that you were here for this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks.